Hey guys, I'm Danielle at DanielleTBD.
I'm Marisa at Marisa Rothman.
And this is We Have Thoughts, back from a hiatus, unintentionally long hiatus. But it's good timing because we're right at the finale for the following. It's been renewed for season 2, but obviously massive things have happened since we last talked about it, and massive things are going to happen before the season ends. So we wanted to kind of check back in. Obviously, we were both really in love with the pilot, and we haven't, we write about it weekly, but we haven't really talked about it. So
At least on camera.
Right. So
Because you guys can't see into our houses. That'd be weird.
I don't know. I don't want to put anything past them.
It's true. It'd be very following appropriate if they did.
Yeah, but right.
I just distracted her. Sorry.
But no, I mean it was not really distraction. Just we wanted to talk about the following and where we are with it. I mean, I will say right up front, I'm still Team Carol. I mean, he's unraveling, as we saw in the penultimate episode. I feel like, is pretty much where Hardy was in the pilot. I mean, the drinking is kind of the on the nose aspect of it, but just the no control, maybe losing the passion a little bit, just kind of things are not going the way that he wanted them to go. And I feel like because of that, it almost makes him more sympathetic at the end, because for me personally, I root for the underdog. And why are you laughing at me?
Because literally, he could be the most powerful guy out there, and you'd still be rooting for him, which is totally fine.
Well, but that's what I was gonna say. I was rooting in the beginning when I was like, oh, he's so cunning and he has all of these things in place, and I was rooting for him in the sense that I liked the character and I found him charismatic, and I found his plan so fascinating that I'm like, I want to see if he can pull this off. I mean, I would love to see if this, and along the way, he clearly hit roadblocks. He didn't pull it off the way he wanted to. All the things that I had said in my initial review of the pilot, the followers who kind of start to play for their own agenda or, just screw up, all did foil his plan a little bit as time went on. And so now the reasons I want to see him succeed are slightly different. He is the underdog now. Hardy's tie has even been straightened, so clearly he has...
Symbolism.
It's the biggest indicator that clearly he is... I wanted to say straighter, but that's not the right word. He's more together. And I will be really honest, I still love Emma. Like, I know there's been a backlash because she's killed Jacob and everybody loves Jacob, but I feel like that was so consistent and in character. Like, I love that she has been one of the strongest characters all the way through.
See, well, just to go back to your earlier point, I really don't find Joe to be an underdog, which is why it's kind of fascinating to me that you do. Only because...
Well, compared to what he was in the beginning. I mean, by typical TV standards, I'm kind of stretching it to make him fit.
But not even that. It's just the issue of, one of the interesting and challenging things about the season has been that, Joe is dedicated. He has a plan. He wants to see it through. That is his goal. The collateral damage doesn't mean anything. He could lose everything with the exception of maybe his son and maybe his wife.
But that's where I was going, because...
No, but the thing is, for me, that makes him the ultimate, the opposite of an underdog. Because with Ryan and at the FBI, Ryan cares. When we see those losses...
But I'm not talking about those losses. I'm talking about the fact that, he got to a point where he was like, I have to kill Claire. I hate you now. You're making me hate you.
But that doesn't make him an underdog.
But it makes his plan, it undermines his plan. If his plan was to bring his family back together, and now he's questioning if that's even right for him, if that's even what he wants. I still maybe am rooting for the plan a little bit, in that respect. I mean...
Well, see, to be fair, it was interesting because we've all been under the assumption that he does have this massive plan.
Yeah.
James Purefoy seems to indicate... I talked to him and he seemed to indicate that maybe he's a little crazier than we all thought.
Well, I'm not saying he's
so my thing
he
is just
clearly has an imbalance.
Oh, clearly, but it's just for me it feels like, as a viewer of the show, because the stakes are so imbalanced, because, the bad guys have been falling. I mean, we've seen so many we have seen a fair amount of casualties on the bad guy side, but it hasn't meant as much because it doesn't mean as much to Joe. So it feels like going into the finale, as much as things are spinning out of control, he still has so many cards many more cards than Ryan has. 'Cause
Maybe.
I feel like
I don't know though, because
to me, yeah.
losing his top guy, and maybe there's someone else.
Yeah,
What'd you say? I'm
do
sorry.
you trust him that much? I mean,
No,
it's like,
but
yeah.
he needed him to enact certain things, and now he doesn't have him. To be honest, I thought midway through that he had a part of his plan was to use him as kind of like a fall guy, not a scapegoat, because obviously everybody knows Joe Carroll, but so I feel like there are a little. I don't know. I think part of it too is honestly it's just whether he had a huge plan or whether he's a little bit more imbalanced than we realized. Regardless, what his goal was to get his family back together. It's fallen apart on its own, and if he doesn't really want it, if he's only using Claire as a chip for Ryan, that changes a lot of things. Like I did believe that he really wanted his family back together. I thought he was nuts for thinking it was ever a possibility, absolutely, but I thought it was more than just getting in at Ryan. So I think it's gonna be one of the most interesting things for me anyway in the finale is seeing that aspect of it. Because obviously, yeah, you said it yourself, like Ryan cares. He cares not only on a personal level, but, on the larger scale, he doesn't want to see things go bad. But Ryan's going to be distracted because Parker's still out there
that's
somewhere.
the thing. There's so many vulnerable points for Ryan. I feel like at this point, Ryan is, not that I think that either of his underdogs and poor Joey is probably the biggest underdog.
He's fine because he's safe now. And God only knows where he is.
That poor kid, God knows where he is, yeah. Hopefully he's safe and sound in his bunker somewhere so no one can touch him. But it's just I feel like, Ryan is so exposed at this moment.
Oh, totally.
With, with Weston and with Parker and with obviously Claire being the biggest gaping wound in his chest at the moment with her absence.
But he has a very clear mission. Even though it is distracted from everything, with everything, he knows, okay, I need to save Parker, I need to save Claire, I need to get Carol and lock him back up, etc. I guess where I was saying underdog was because I don't know how you can expect a plan to succeed if your plan has changed. He seems like he's flying by the seat of his pants a lot more. Like that boat thing, maybe that was part of it, he took her on the boat, maybe that was part of it the whole time, or maybe it wasn't, but, still, wherever they end up next, I can't imagine he expected it to go as badly as it's gone. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I've been wrong before about other things within the show. But I've always been more interested in that side of things from the psychological perspective anyway, because I feel like we see so many cop shows anyway, and so we know what we know the beats of that story based on what television has time for and what network television allows and everything. And then because of that, I kind of hope he doesn't save Parker. I hope it comes down to a choice where he because how the hell is he going to find her buried in the middle of who knows where?
Well, she has a phone.
Right. But that
track.
only, I don't know how far underground is she, maybe not.
She's able to get reception to call, you'd think in that case.
You would, but all I'm saying is it's TV, so I don't know. And it could also come down to maybe the phone dies and then...
Right, of course.
Or maybe there's just not time for everything.
If you're that far down, it's going to be draining the battery super fast.
That's all I'm saying. So I kind of hope, and it's not, again, nothing against her, but I feel like putting Hardy in that position, first of all, where he can't save everybody.
Right.
And that's always been, we saw in the pilot, to bring you back to the pilot again, that's what rattles him, is when he's got these people out there that he can't take care of. So, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what they're going to do for season 2.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about the show. That at this moment, I have vague ideas of where it could go in season 2. But even then, I don't know how that would sustain an entire season or a potential season 3. So it's thrilling and fascinating and kind of terrifying to have very little idea of where the show's going to go. And I like it. It's not like it's oh God, I don't really want to see where this is going. But it's just one of those things where it's not very often that you have that in TV.
No,
there's always a lot of times. There's only a very few shows. You might think, okay, going into it, this and this will happen, which will then lead up to the next season. You can kind of see where it's going. I just feel like at this point, they could tell me that they're having season 2 completely be in a mental institution, and I would totally buy that. like,
I mean, they're not gonna.
No, they're not going to.
But
if you look
you
up both
totally
Ryan
could.
and Joe,
Yeah.
you're like, both of you guys are freaking crazy. Go to your corners. I could totally see anything at this point. So it's like, that's not going to happen. And if that happens,
If it happens, someone send her a gift basket.
I will take all the gift baskets, but that would be a complete guess.
Right.
Like, we can't really sustain 15 hours of, well.
I gotta be honest too, I mean, they've lost so many people
Yeah.
that I really, like, characters that I really loved and that I wanted to see more from. That is a big part of the potential for season 2 as well. Like,
Right.
I
Who are
am
they gonna bring
excited to see the kinds of characters they're gonna bring in. Also somewhat worried. Not because I don't want to get too attached if they're just going to die in 3 episodes. It's just because I liked these people so much more. I will, or potentially like them so much more. I will always be comparing them. Be like, oh, you killed off Paul for that guy. Like, you're not so good. I mean, it depends. Let's see who they get. But
I mean,
I really liked Paul and Jacob.
No, so that's gonna be really hard because that Paul, Jacob, Emma triangle was so compelling early on in the season. So it wasn't shocking that they killed off Paul. I was shocked they killed him off so soon. I figured they would probably have waited until a couple episodes down the line, and I figured Jacob would die in the finale. I didn't think it would be the penultimate. So it's just one of those things where
what do you kind of do with her now? Because she's not really in a triangle with Joe and Claire. Like, that's not a thing. And, you know.
Though if Carol manages to escape again, she could be his biggest ally.
But that triangle has always been party. So she could be his biggest ally. I just meant from the personal aspect.
She's sleeping with Joe. You never know.
Yeah, but it's a different dynamic.
I'm not
Like, the
disagreeing,
fact that she was actually loved Jacob, she actually cared about him, that's so much more complex than to just stick her in a traditional, like, oh, we're all sleeping together type of triangle.
Right.
So I'm not.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, we've seen it on shows where they have multiple triangles or they've got quads.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like.
But I just feel like that would be a step back for the show. Oh, I hope she does.
But that's different.
I feel like she has to. Because he really then goes into season 2 with nobody. Like, it is a clean slate for him.
But then that's a massive change from season 1.
It totally is, but then it's not, it's less about the cult of Carol, and I don't know.
Well, it's less about the cult of Carol that we know.
True.
And that he knows. We don't know who
That's
he has
true.
that he hasn't.
I would just argue, and I haven't seen it or heard about it, so it's obviously presumptuous to argue this way, but I would argue that if there's somebody that's out there that he's been working with or that potentially he could have been working with, why wouldn't he have brought him in already? Like, to then bring them in season 2, like, yeah, it could be a different aspect. It could be like more the fans, like the people that come out of the woodwork. They're like, I want to join you now. You have nobody to teach me now. Like, I don't know. So we'll see. I'll join. Hi. I'm a good shot. I shouldn't say that, should I? You can bleep that. Anyway, that